Hello, everybody. I'm Christopher Zimmerman, music director of the Fairfax Symphony Orchestra, and I have with me today our principal second violinist, Caitlin Lyons-Peden. Caitlin, welcome. Thanks for coming for a chat. So, Caitlin, let me ask you, how long have you played with the Fairfax Symphony Orchestra?
I actually just finished my first season with the symphony, though it was cut a little short.
Actually, of course, I did know that. You really are, well, one of our two newest members. What do you miss most about not being able to perform for our audiences?
The thing that I miss most about performing live with an orchestra is just the exhilaration of performing live with my colleagues. It's something that's kind of hard to explain, but when you're in the moment and you have, all of your colleagues around you and you're performing, for example, a Beethoven symphony, and it's one of, your favorites, and you love all the different melodies and nuances, and you're well prepared, and so you can just kind of enjoy the moment where you're really working to keep the ensemble together, but also be musical and share your passion with those that are coming to the performance. And I think that is honestly what I miss most, because I love sharing music with others, and especially those that, maybe have had a really bad day or something and they come to a concert and then they're uplifted by the music. And it's like a slight refuge for them away from everything else in their life that may be challenging at that time. And so that element of music where it can uplift others, I think, is a really important thing that I miss.
No, I mean, playing in an orchestra is indeed a special social thing in a sense. Absolutely right. Could you tell us a bit about the instrument you play?
Yes. So the instrument I play is actually a Jusik instrument. He was a maker in the Czech Republic, I believe. It was made in the early 1900s, and I actually was in the Kennedy Center Youth Fellowship Program when I was in high school here in DC. And one of the violinists in the National Symphony Orchestra was, kind of bought and sold different instruments. And so he heard from my teacher, who was also in the National Symphony, that I was looking for an instrument. And so he found this amazing violin that I now play today.
When did you begin playing, and what inspired you to take up the violin?
I started playing the violin when I was 2.5 years old, which is a little bit younger than is recommended these days. My mother was actually, and it still is, a music teacher. So I constantly heard music in the home and was able to really be exposed to it at an early age. And actually, because of my sister, who's a little bit older than I am, she started at the normal age, in quotes, of 4 years old. And I, being the younger sister, grew jealous that she got to play this amazing instrument and I didn't. And so after enough 2-year-old tantrums, I finally was able to get my hands on a violin, and I haven't really put it down since. So it's been fun.
Can you tell us about a favorite piece you like to play?
Yes. So one of my favorite pieces to play, I actually played it on a master's recital at the Cleveland Institute of Music, is called Rachmaninoff's Vocalise. And this is an arrangement actually for violin and piano. It's originally for voice, I believe, and piano. And I love Rachmaninoff's works and just all the piano concertos and symphonies and all the fun repertoire that he has created, because it's just so beautiful. I mean, the range of emotion that he's able to portray in these pieces through intricate harmonies and all of these different nuances is really exquisite. And so I truly enjoyed playing this piece, and I believe you have a clip of that you were going to play.
Thank you so much for providing that. And I agree with you, Rachmaninoff is indeed a very special composer. And that's also a piece, I have to say, that I also love. When I used to play violin 250 years ago, I also played that piece. And my son plays it, and I accompany him quite often on the
Mhm.
piano. So it's thank you so much for talking about that particular piece.
Definitely.
Can you tell us what you enjoy about performing with the Fairfax Symphony in particular?
What I love about performing with the Fairfax Symphony is just the talented members of the orchestra. And I love working with you as our music director and all of the different amazing musical advice and techniques that you have us do in rehearsal and your efficiency in rehearsal. I think that that's a big thing. I've played in many orchestras before where the music director hasn't necessarily used rehearsal time to the fullest capacity. And that has been difficult for the musicians. But I also love the diversity of the repertoire that we played. Like, for example, this past spring, when we did Vivaldi's Four Seasons and then Pizzola's Four Seasons, and just to see how we're connecting, maybe older generations of music with newer generations of music. And I think that that's really important, especially going forward. So I love many different aspects of it.
And what do you find maybe most challenging about playing in a live performance with our orchestra, or perhaps any orchestra?
The most challenging thing about playing really in any orchestra is, I believe, the ensemble, which is staying together while still being musically expressive. And as I mentioned a little bit earlier in the interview, I really think that orchestra playing is truly like chamber music, because as you go forward and you're really interacting and you constantly have to be like almost standing out of your seat because of how involved you have to be with all the musicians around you. And, in some pieces, it can be quite difficult to keep the ensemble together. But, overall, I think that as we all work together, we can definitely make it happen.
Yes, I mean, as a conductor, um, this is at the foremost of mine, and I'm sure every conductor's mind is just how do you this living organism of between, let's say, 35 and 95 players, depending on the piece, how you kind of bring
Mhm.
it together, not only in with meticulous preparation and rehearsal, but allowing it to speak at the moment of a concert. And I'm not sure if our listeners are aware of this. They understandably, they probably think that the players follow this beat of the conductor, and that's kind of a big part of it. But really playing together, as you of course know, and you've alluded to a bit, is to do with listening to what's going on around you, and that's always changing. And
Mhm.
I believe personally, I mean, that's part of the beauty of the whole business, and part of what makes it scary as well. There's that sort of dichotomy between the two.
Exactly. No performance is the same twice. It can be perfect in a rehearsal, and then all of a sudden you get to the concert and someone maybe came in slightly too early or slightly too late, and then you have to adjust. And so it's constantly just listening and adjusting to those around you so you can all fit together.
Indeed, indeed. Um, Caitlin, why do you feel, assuming you do, that classical music is important for us as a society? Maybe
That's a
particularly
great
now. I don't know.
That's a great question. I really feel that classical music is important to us as a society because classical music is timeless and it's almost like a universal language that can transcend so many of the different things that can separate us in a society, like age, gender, politics, cultural boundaries, different religious beliefs, and so on and so forth. And to unify as a nation and to unify as a society and as a people, we really need classical music to continue because it's something we can find in common. It's something that we can all love without necessarily pointing out the things that we hate. You know what I mean? And so going forward, especially with everything going on right now in the political world and also, with coronavirus and so many kind of fires all over the world in different areas, we can really come together and join in our love for classical music and our love for just music in general. And we can unify ourselves in our commonality and not necessarily in our differences. And that's something that I think could really benefit us right now.
Yes, of course. The irony is, I agree, it can so benefit us right now. The irony, the cruelty is that we can't get together to do it. We have to do it by
Exactly.
other means. But let's hope that passes sooner rather than later. What skills do you learn, do you think, by playing your instrument, or any instrument, I suppose, which could be that's perhaps transferable to other aspects of life?
I talk a lot about with my students is this idea of these skills that you can acquire while learning an instrument, that can really, go into any field, whether it be just, everyday life or also into like college or engineering and things like that. And those qualities would be honestly discipline and being able to practice something in such a way that you're able to improve and you're able to use those skills to then help others, and we're able to conquer our nerves almost in a way and learn how our body reacts to stress. And the focus and the memorization skills are also really big too, because for example, the Tchaikovsky violin concerto that I played a movement of for my audition for the Fairfax Symphony, the whole concerto is quite long. Depending on your tempos, it can be probably around 45 minutes in length. And so it is quite a beast of a piece to play and to memorize. And so think of how many notes you can play in 45 minutes. It's quite a lot, especially if you're playing double stops, which are, two notes at one time. And so with that in mind, you're able to acquire these skills where you're able to really practice something and learn how to practice it well, and be very efficient in your time that you spend learning your craft. And that's something that I saw that really helped me even in my bachelor's and in my master's degree, is really learning how to manage my time well and how to really kind of hunker down and learn something and really know how to practice it well and have the focus and determination to do it.
Yeah, yeah. I hope, as I said earlier, let's hope it's sooner rather than later. I'm really looking forward to seeing you again and getting back to playing with the orchestra. And in the meantime, stay well
Thank
and
you.
stay healthy, and hopefully see you soon.